General Mick McGuire dedicated 38 years in service to the U.S. military. Now he's in the process of running for the United States Senate. However, everything he does is built on the solid foundation of faith.
Well, good morning. I'm General Mick McGuire. Thanks for having me, Aubrey. Debbie and I are just honored to be on the program. As you mentioned, I've had 38 years of service. Began my career at the Air Force Academy, flew F-16s for 26 years, and 8 years ago had the humbling honor to be called up to be the Commanding General of the Guard here in Phoenix. Debbie and I relocated from Tucson to Phoenix back in 2013 and served there and retired as a two-star general in April of this year. We've got 3 beautiful daughters, a granddaughter and a grandson on the way, and we make our church home here in Phoenix at Christ Church of the Valley, CCV, over at 20th Street, and Indian School is our home campus. And we really appreciate you doing this. I know you're going to ask me a lot about why I would do this, but I want to remind everybody that running for the United States Senate is a huge burden. And I tell people every day, maintain hope. Faith, hope, and love. The greatest of these is love. But while we're pulling air, maintain faith and hope in this great nation. I will not live a life less fulfilled if I am not a United States Senator, but I will feel derelict in the duty to the oath to this Constitution of this great United States of America that I've taken for the last 38 years if I watch the Republic come apart at the seams. So that's ultimately why I'm doing this, and I really appreciate you having Debbie and I on today, and God bless every one of your viewers. Thank you.
Well, today I have the incredible honor of interviewing General Mick McGuire and his lovely wife, Debbie McGuire. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Aubrey. Thanks for having us.
So you have spent over 38 years in the military. What led you to being in the military in the first place?
Well, thanks. I was recruited in my senior year of high school to play football, and 2 of the Division I schools that had expressed an interest in me were the Air Force Academy and West Point. I literally filled out an application alone on a flyer, and the second semester of my senior year, after a myriad of what I'd call God-derived circumstances, I ended up with 3 weeks prior to the deadline making a decision to go. So I hadn't given it a lot of thought, and here we are 38 years. It'll be 38 years just passed in July
the rest
that
is
I
history.
showed up at basic training, yeah.
And so when did you two get married?
We got married in 1988, so I knew him all through high school, but we didn't date there or in college, and I went to his graduation from the Air Force Academy.
So what were your expectations marrying a military man? What was that like?
I had no expectations. My feeling was, we'll see the world, he'll fly, it's gonna be great, and circumstances changed not long after.
So were you both people of faith when you got married? What was that like?
That was, we were married at Sierra Madre Congregational Church. I was raised at a church called Arcadia Presbyterian. I accepted the Lord when I was 13 years old. And I'll let Debbie talk about her faith walk, but she started out not in public school, in Catholic school, and was raised Catholic and had moved over to Sierra Madre Congregation.
Yeah, so my favorite story from us getting married was going to counseling prior to our marriage, and our pastor asked us to put on some sunglasses. His were blue, mine were pink, and put a white object in front of us and said, sometimes you don't see things the same way. What do you see? I see a blue, cup, mug. What do you see? I see a pink mug. We're looking at the same thing, but we see things differently, and sometimes that's just the way it is, and it's okay.
So 33 years of marriage, right? Faith has obviously played a major role in your 33 years of marriage and also raising your children. How has it played, faith, a major role in your guys' life?
Well, Debbie and I have talked, we have 3 beautiful daughters. They're 30, 27, and 20 years old.
Wow.
1 granddaughter and a grandson on the way. And all of our daughters know this. During my tenure as an F-16 pilot, and then subsequently had the opportunity to command at different levels, and ending as the Commanding General of the National Guard here in Arizona, I would address the groups frequently about faith, family, duty, and that they needed to keep those 3 things in order. That you had to have faith, You had to have a strong foundation in your family to build on, and then you could exert that privilege to serve and wear the cloth of the nation and do your duty, whatever it is. And for all of them, I couldn't be prouder of our three beautiful daughters. I remind them all the time, I never want them to stand up and introduce themselves as a great female leader. I just want to introduce themselves as great leaders, and I think they've learned that.
Did you ever see any resistance being someone who gave your faith all the time to the people you commanded, the people you worked with? Were people receptive to the idea of faith?
Well, you know, in the military, we clearly understand that this nation is a group of religious dissidents. And that's what the nation was founded upon, that religious liberty, that your liberties come from God, your freedoms are really freedom from tyranny of the government, and that we are not a theocracy. And so I would, in a very ecumenical way, across all faiths, across all principle-based, regardless of your faith, I told them you have to have faith in something greater than yourself to be a successful member of the military. Because when you're in harm's way, potentially putting warheads on foreheads or taking one in the forehead yourself, you better have faith in the people next to you.
That's so true. So what led you to that transition of resigning from the military and pursuing becoming a U.S. Senate candidate?
Well, I tell people the last straw is no more heavy than the rest, Aubrey, and the last straw for me was on January 8th of 2021, the Secretary of Defense convened a call, the acting Secretary of Defense, along with the Joint Chiefs and the other 54 adjutants general, myself and 53 colleagues, and asked us to put 26,000 soldiers fully armed into D.C. in full battle rattle. That is something that the country has rebuffed for years, 300 plus years, Shays Rebellion, the Boston Massacre. We do not have soldiers police our citizens. I asked, had the president invoked the Insurrection Act, had he declared an emergency, or had he designated the group a terrorist organization? He had not done any of those, and I told him that I have an oath of office to follow legal, moral, ethical orders.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I was the only one that said no, and so Arizona did not deploy their soldiers. I told my wife, Debbie, on the night of January 8th, God has put us in a very unique situation. We have a 50-50 Senate, and I'm very worried about tyranny of the majority, which Washington warned us about at the Constitutional Convention. And she said, what are you going to do about it? I said, well, I'm going to jump in the U.S. Senate race. So like she said, she's known me since the 9th grade. She knows I'm a little bit crazy at times, but we're just going to jump into it and go for it and try to save this great nation. We know that God put us here for a reason.
Amen.
So this is the greatest nation in the history of the world.
It really is. I couldn't agree with you more. Debbie, how has this process been for you?
Well, I think it's gone fairly well. People have been very kind to me. I think the people that I've met have been very supportive of him as well. And in terms of going out and everything, I'm not great about asking for much, but I do ask for prayer, and that's really the only thing I feel like comfortable asking for. And I feel the prayers of others, and it's lifted us up.
That's so amazing. Now, if you are elected, you have used your faith throughout your entire life to impact those around you.
Yep.
How do you plan to use your faith to impact the Senate?
Well, I think it's the power of one. If you go back to that story on January 8th as the 51st vote, I may only be 1 against 99 originally, but if you go forward to February 4th, the states were asked to extend the mission through June 1st, and 42 of my colleagues stepped forward and recalled their troops without me lobbying them or asking them to change their opinion. And so I think that all of us that have deep faith in God's divine providence know that if they continue to pray for this nation, that His will be done. And if I'm standing alone originally, I'm sure eventually 59 of them will stand with me, and all of these things about the filibuster and the rest will be moot at that point, Aubrey.
Thank you guys so much for being here today. It was just my honor to be able to talk to you, hear from you, hear your story. You guys are such inspirations to people all over the state of Arizona and all over the world. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having us. It was a great morning. Thank you.
Well, for General Mick McGuire, a life grounded in faith was not just a principle, it's a lifestyle. At Dream City Church, we always have amazing guests just like General Mick McGuire come and inspire us on our weekend and our midweek services. To find out more about what we have going on at Dream City Church, check out dreamcitychurch.us.